Hey, check it out. I found these railroad tracks that lead over this bridge. Has an interesting look to it. Has some spray paint, graffiti stuff on it. Some kind of artistic expression, maybe self-expression. I wonder why they did that. Maybe it has something to do with the uniformity of the world, the industrialization, you know. You got these straight metal pieces, these beams that support the weight of the bridge and allow heavy objects to cross it. But people decided to kind of spruce it up with color for some reason. Maybe the uniformity and the grid-like nature of life kind of is too imposing, too, I don't know, overbearing maybe. Keeping things all straight and in line. Train tracks are very in line, very straight, allows you to get places easily. But you notice all the patterns. There's a lot of patterns here. You got these consecutively placed sequence of wooden beams, and then you have these metal rails stuck right into them, allowing you to cross. If you look down here, I need to watch my step because there's water down there. I don't want to fall down there. It's a long way down. As you can see, it crosses this river thing. And you got some traffic down there. The energy of the social system. People driving around everywhere. Speeding around. And I'm just here standing still, looking at this skeleton of a bridge. It's a skeleton, basically. So let's explore this place, see what's around. I haven't really explored it. I don't want to walk over there because that would be really bad. I don't want to fall in there. I kind of feel uneasy walking on this right now. Look, there's a face. And some other graffiti stuff. But it's kind of interesting. Interesting. I kind of always mess that word up. Interesting. I have to learn to pronounce my or enunciate or whatever better. So yeah, you could see those little studs kind of poking up out of there, rivets, or I don't know what you call them. Probably holding all the pieces together. All the straight rectangular shapes, and they use rectangular straight shapes and grids and things like that because it's easy to align it. Alright, it's easy to kind of build stuff when things are at right angles. You could see the X shape of the beams kind of preventing the vertical ones from moving left and right, so it kind of creates an interlocking structure. If you like rotate it sideways, you could see it's kind of like a grid, a section of the grid where the horizontal and vertical lines cross. It's a very simple structure, but it allows things to be built fairly easily, and in this case lightweight compared to the overall space that it covers. You got plants growing out of it. So yeah, let's see. I'm really I don't know how far out I want to go here. You can see the you also have the X part of the grid shape going across, keeping it straight. And so yeah, so I think it's kind of interesting, the design of bridges and what they're meant to do. They're meant to kind of connect two sides together, right? And when you think about the duality, that sort of thing, that pattern is present everywhere with the space and the line. The space and the line, as you can see, you got spaces between the wooden lines, both directions at right angles, horizontal, vertically, these grids of different proportions, right? You got the spaces, different proportions to them, and the lines, different proportions, and they all are interlocking in kind of like a fractal, you know, grids inside of grids, like a matrix or something like that, like a mesh system. And also like the lines with the beams, you have one end and the other end. You got two sides and they're connecting something, two spaces or two other lines. So it's all basically the same pattern everywhere, pattern. And then you have the trains going with their wheels, circular wheels on the tracks. Why is it so ordered? You know, with the order, with so many grids and lines, interlocking lines, you know, and spaces, it kind of is no surprise that there's like graffiti and self-expressive stuff painted onto it. You don't see that painted onto nature like the trees or whatever, do you? No, because it's the structure that kind of withstands time and has like this ordered presence to it, this overbearing nature to it that kind of contrasts with the ever-changing flow of the nature around it. So you have like this contrast of styles. You have this, you know, inner feeling that people have, and then you have this kind of dead skeleton sort of bone structure that's kind of just staring at you, you know, telling you that, you know, things aren't what they seem to be, or what they do seem to be. I don't know. But interesting stuff to think about. I'm trying to be careful not to trip over stuff. You can see over here the train tracks just go straight way down there to more traffic. Back to the world that way, back to the world the other way. I'm stuck between it trying to figure it all out. Trying to spread the message, okay? Trying to get inside the line, inside the space. You know, bring you something different to think about, something crazy, something out there. I've had all this time to kind of absorb it. Other people might not, because they're so distracted with all the noise. There's two different types of noises, at least I think so at this moment. There's like a natural noise with the leaves flowing and the leaves flowing and the grass blowing, creating a rustling noise, but all that's very soft. It's like a soft noise, you know. But then you have this industrial metal clanking machine noise, and that's more abrasive to the mind. It's more like oh man, I just heard something crack. But I think it's kind of interesting how bridges connect two sides together. There's a duality involved. And you could see this duality patterned through the world. You could see it in structures, you could see it in nature, in the behavior of people, the way they identify things. In order to feel something, you have to kind of cross something where there's a division, a line, something that creates friction. Alright? So we could do that visually, looking at the spaces and the lines, the rods and cones in your eye as they cross the contrast. Creates a friction, a visual friction that you could feel, okay? And that's how it helps us identify contours and things like that. So this pattern is everywhere. It's not just visual. It exists in many forms. The spaces and the lines, and they have different words that people use to describe it. But it's in their complexity that creates higher forms that have like specialized names, like bridge or building or road or car or whatever, a wheel, who knows, anything. They're all built from this fractalized grid matrix system, okay? So when I look at stuff like this, I see the skeleton, I see the lines and the spaces, and that's what attracts me, because the straightness to it is very imposing, and it's that imposing power, that alignment that captures the energy, okay? The energy follows the lines and gets captured in the geometry, okay? It sounds strange, but if you think about it, you have the cars, all the energy following those roads. You have the water flowing up the tree branches, okay? Going along the rivers. The life follows the water and the rivers and the streams and all that sort of thing. The trees, tree branches, things like that. So this is no different with a bridge and the train tracks. Again, trains along the tracks. All that energy more easily flows when it's in a straight line, okay? And nature naturally tries to do that. It tries to create those straight lines to create life and energy that could flow within it. And maybe that is life. Maybe the line is life. Maybe you gotta be in the line to be alive, alright? And if you're out in the space for too long, you lose that feeling of yourself, your identity, alright? And part of my life, I've been in the space, looking out at the lines, alright? I've noticed these things. You can't really notice the lines if you're always in them, right? You got to get out of the lines to see them. And that's kind of scary for a lot of people, because they're not used to space and keeping themselves away from everything. All right? I've kind of been in a situation that, well, we won't get into that. But this stuff's everywhere, man. You got the organic stuff, it's more fluid and lightweight and kind of flexible, so it allows it to kind of bend and interact with the energy more freely. And you can see how the lines and the branches are more kind of random, but not really random, but more just affected by the flow of nature, whereas these are the beams of the bridge are they're designed to kind of they're designed to withstand the forces of nature, okay? And man naturally wants to flow with the forces of nature and be like effortless, to live effortlessly. So when you have all this rigid structure surrounding a person and making them not feel like they're flowing, I think it causes people to do things like this, like draw or paint things onto it to make it feel less dead, feel less unmoving, right? The unmovingness of the structure kind of causes their mind to try and like wrestle out of it and kind of break free you know, kind of makes their mind kind of do contortions to try and figure out why it's not changing, because the natural state is to change, right? So you have stuff like this. So that's just one interpretation. There's lots of interpretations, and maybe they're just frustrated about something, but it all builds up naturally. It's all connected in some way, like the processes in your brain. Your brain has neurons that kind of change dynamically. It's like it changes the way you think. Changes the way you think, basically. It's like ever changing and like adapting. So it has all those connections, like I don't know how many, but connections like the beams and rods. They all serve a purpose of like holding something together, holding your concept of reality, and you know, stuff like that. But in this type of form, people don't see that easily. They don't make the connection that easily because they've been conditioned to kind of just live life believing the things that other people have said, and they just keep regurgitating what others say, not knowing what they've actually meant by, you know, the words that they use. It's just a pattern of behavior. And what I want to do is kind of wake people up, you know? Show them that there's something else going on that they don't realize. I feel like I know something. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't be making a fool out of myself doing this sort of thing. But that's how much it means to me. So there it is. Another symbol of life. Connecting two sides. You decide which side is which and what it corresponds to, because those sides are everywhere.